the Africans are not on the table to discuss issues pertaining to us, wherein lies the problem. And the reason that continues to be the case, what underscores that is the disrespect for the Africans.
Will America abandon a nation like Niger? The announcement of the U.S. withdrawing its forces from Niger came as a surprise to many. It raises questions about why the U.S., which had maintained a long-standing military presence in Niger, decided to pull out abruptly. While the U.S. has provided reasons for its decision, there's another side to the story that deserves consideration. Was it solely the U.S.'s decision, or were there factors at play that pushed it to leave Niger on its own? Let's find out. The United States Africa Command AFRICOM has confirmed the commencement of U.S. forces withdrawal from Niger, signaling a pivotal moment for Niger and the broader Sahel region. The departure of the first C-17 Globemaster III aircraft from Air Base 101 in Niamey on June 7, 2024, marks the beginning of a significant shift in U.S. military strategy in West Africa. For over a decade, Niger has been a cornerstone of U.S. military operations aimed at counterinsurgency and regional stability. But why the withdrawal? Has the U.S. failed to provide what it promised? While they do put it on Niger's bad governance and also say that junta leaders became a reason for instability, problems lie in their governance as well, that they forget to tell. So that is what we are here to do, to tell you the complete truth. The United States has faced significant challenges in combating violent groups in Africa, particularly in Niger. Firstly, the U.S.'s heavy reliance on a militarized approach to counterinsurgency in Africa, including Niger, has resulted in a 75,000% increase in attacks on the continent. This staggering figure underscores the ineffectiveness of relying solely on military interventions to combat counterinsurgency. The focus on military action has often led to unintended consequences, such as civilian casualties and displacement, which further alienate local populations and drive recruitment for violent groups. By prioritizing military solutions, the U.S. has neglected to address the socio-political and economic factors that contribute to extremism. Issues such as poverty, lack of education, and political disenfranchisement remain unaddressed, providing fertile ground for violent ideologies to take root. The U.S. has also often partnered with local security forces in Niger that have been implicated in human rights violations. These violations include extrajudicial killings, torture, and arbitrary detention, which erode public trust in the government and security institutions. This state predation creates an environment where violent groups can exploit the grievances of marginalized citizens. Violent groups use the abuses committed by state security forces as propaganda tools to recruit new members and justify their actions. The U.S.'s continued support for these forces, despite their abuses, undermines its counterinsurgency efforts and strengthens the resolve of violent groups. Despite significant U.S. counterinsurgency efforts, violent events in Niger have increased tenfold over the past decade, with violence doubling since 2019. This escalation indicates that the current U.S. approach is not only failing to curb violence, but is also contributing to its increase. The increase in violence despite military interventions suggests that these efforts are not addressing the root causes of counterinsurgency. Instead, they may be exacerbating existing tensions and creating new ones. The U.S. has focused predominantly on military assistance and training, often neglecting the critical role of good governance in preventing violence. Effective counterinsurgency requires promoting the rule of law, ensuring accountability, and addressing corruption. In Niger, the lack of focus on governance reforms has allowed violent groups to exploit governmental weaknesses and the grievances of the population. Addressing conflict and decreasing the risks of violent extremism requires a comprehensive strategy that includes investing in governance and addressing underlying socio-economic issues. This includes improving public services, promoting political inclusion, and ensuring economic opportunities for all citizens. The U.S.'s counterinsurgency strategies in various African countries, including Niger, have often been characterized by stagnation and failure. For instance, in Somalia, U.S. military efforts have resulted in a prolonged stalemate rather than a decisive victory. This pattern of ineffective strategies has also been evident in Niger, where violent groups continue to operate and expand despite U.S. interventions. Groups have shown a remarkable ability to adapt to military pressure, often changing tactics and strategies to evade detection and strike at vulnerable targets. The US's failure to anticipate and counter these adaptations has allowed these groups to remain resilient and continue their operations. The partnership with security forces that commit human rights abuses has exacerbated the very extremism the US aims to counter. And then, the US has not sufficiently addressed the role of poor governance in enabling violent extremism. In Niger, as well as in Mali and Niger, security forces have often acted with impunity, killing civilians and worsening the cycle of violence. This lack of accountability fuels further extremism, as citizens lose faith in the state's ability to protect and serve them. Effective counterinsurgency must involve improving governance and ensuring that security forces protect rather than prey on the population. This includes implementing reforms to increase transparency, accountability, and the rule of law, as well as providing support for civil society organizations that promote human rights and good governance. Now, these were the real reasons. As Niger started talking about how the US failed, the US thought it was better to leave. But it didn't leave quietly. It found a scapegoat, and that is Russia. They say as Russia's ties with Niger increase, it becomes a threat, which is indeed not true. But what scared the US about Russia and Niger ties? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Following the collapse of the Wagner Group, a private military contractor led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, Russia has strengthened its military ties with Niger. Russia has significantly increased its military presence in Niger by deploying military personnel, including trainers and officials from the Russian Ministry of Defense. This deployment aims to enhance Russian influence in the region and support Niger's military capabilities. Russia has also agreed to install an advanced air defense system in Niger. This system is expected to provide complete control of Nigerian airspace, significantly enhancing the country's defensive capabilities against aerial threats. The installation of this system underscores the deepening military cooperation between the two countries and highlights Russia's commitment to bolstering Niger's security infrastructure. Military cooperation between Niger and Russia has accelerated, with Nigerian soldiers and officers receiving training in Russia. This training aims to improve the operational effectiveness and strategic capabilities of Niger's military. The two countries have also conducted joint military exercises, further strengthening their defense partnership and improving coordination between their armed forces. The increased Russian influence in Niger challenges long-standing US influence in the region. Historically, the US has been a major security partner for Niger, but the country's pivot towards Russia reflects dissatisfaction with the US's support in addressing the security challenges of the Sahel region. Niger's shift towards Russia indicates a broader strategic realignment in the region, with countries increasingly seeking alternative partnerships to address their security needs. Russia has provided significant support to Niger beyond military aid, including humanitarian assistance, energy projects, nuclear power development, and cultural exchanges. This multifaceted support has been a key factor in Niger's growing alliance with Russia. Russia's diverse support package aims to build long-term influence and foster closer bilateral relations, contrasting with the more narrowly focused military aid typically provided by Western countries. Russian forces are now operating at the same base as US troops in Niger, Air Base 101. The situation in Niger is a microcosm of the broader geopolitical tensions between the US and Russia, exacerbated by the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The US has expressed concerns over Russia's growing influence in the Sahel and its potential impact on regional security. So, does Niger want Russia? Niger's military junta, led by General Abdurrahmane Chiani, has significantly strengthened its alliance with Russia. This shift in allegiance is partly a response to long-standing dissatisfaction with French influence in the region. France, a former colonial power, has maintained a strong presence in West Africa, often positioning itself as a key player in regional security matters. However, its efforts have increasingly been perceived as ineffective, especially in addressing the persistent security threats posed by armed groups in the Sahel. Despite substantial military interventions and support, France has struggled to curb the activities of these groups, leading to a growing sentiment that its presence does not contribute to long-term stability. Additionally, ongoing dissatisfaction with Western policies and interventions has exacerbated this sentiment. Many African nations feel that Western approaches often prioritize their strategic interests over the genuine needs and aspirations of the local populations. In this context, Russia has positioned itself as an alternative ally, one that is seen as more sympathetic to the sovereignty and self-determination of African nations. The military junta in Niger, under General Chiani, views Russia's engagement as a counterbalance to Western dominance, particularly that of France and the United States. By aligning more closely with Russia, Niger aims to diversify its international partnerships and reduce its reliance on Western powers. This strategic realignment also sends a powerful message to other African nations, suggesting that viable alternatives exist outside the traditional Western sphere of influence. Furthermore, Russia's approach has been multifaceted, encompassing not just military cooperation, but also economic and humanitarian support. This comprehensive engagement has been appealing to Niger and other African countries seeking development and security assistance that respects their autonomy. The military junta's strengthened ties with Russia thus symbolize a broader shift in the geopolitical landscape of the region, where African nations are increasingly looking eastward for partnerships that they believe will better address their complex challenges without the historical baggage of colonialism and perceived neo-colonialism. How would Niger's future be without America? Niger's future without the United States would likely be marked by significant changes in its military and economic relationships. With the United States no longer a major player, Niger's military government is expected to further strengthen its ties with Russia. This relationship could lead to increased military cooperation, including the provision of advanced military equipment and training. Russia's expanding military presence in Africa positions Niger as a key partner in Moscow's strategic efforts on the continent. Additionally, Russia's involvement could bring economic benefits, such as infrastructure projects and investments in key sectors like mining and energy, which could contribute to Niger's development. The military government in Niger has shown a preference for engaging in pragmatic, transactional relationships with foreign powers. Niger's leadership has been actively working to enhance regional stability by fostering stronger ties with neighboring countries in the Sahel region. Collaborative efforts to combat terrorism and address security challenges could lead to a more stable environment, not only for Niger, but also for its neighbors. This regional cooperation could involve joint military operations, intelligence sharing, and coordinated development projects, contributing to overall peace and security in the Sahel. Niger possesses significant natural resources, including uranium and gold, which could attract substantial foreign investment, particularly from countries like China. China's interest in Africa's resources and its willingness to invest in large-scale infrastructure projects could lead to significant economic growth and development in Niger. Improved infrastructure such as roads, railways, and energy projects could boost Niger's economy, create jobs, and enhance the standard of living for its citizens. Overall, Niger's future without the United States could be marked by increased Russian influence, transactional relationships, regional stability, economic growth, and increased autonomy. Will Niger get real independence after the US stops interfering? Niger's decision to distance itself from the United States would likely result in reduced external pressure to conform to Western standards or align its policies with US interests. Historically, US involvement in African nations often comes with expectations for political, economic, and social reforms that align with Western norms. Without US presence, Niger could potentially escape these pressures, allowing for more autonomy in decision-making processes. This shift could enable Niger to prioritize policies that directly address its internal challenges and development priorities, rather than those dictated by external influences. Ending the military agreement with the US would signify a significant step towards enhancing Niger's sovereignty and self-determination. By disengaging from a military partnership that historically involved substantial US influence over Niger's defense and security strategies, the country can assert greater control over its national affairs. This newfound sovereignty could empower Niger to forge its path in international relations, negotiate treaties and agreements based on its strategic interests, and strengthen its standing on the global stage as an independent actor. Freed from the constraints of a U.S. military agreement, Niger could pursue a more flexible and dynamic foreign policy agenda. This flexibility would allow Niger to engage with a broader array of countries and international organizations on terms that align with its specific interests and priorities. For instance, Niger could explore partnerships that focus on economic development, regional security cooperation, and cultural exchange without the burden of adhering to a single dominant partner's geopolitical agenda. Such flexibility could lead to more nuanced and adaptive foreign policy decisions that better serve Niger's evolving strategic objectives. Niger's economy heavily relies on foreign aid and investment, which can sometimes come with conditions that influence national policies. Without the U.S.'s strong presence, Niger may diversify its economic partnerships and reduce its dependence on aid tied to political agendas. This shift could enable Niger to attract investment from a broader range of countries, develop its natural resources sustainably, and enhance economic resilience. By fostering economic autonomy, Niger could also bolster its capacity to respond to global economic trends and mitigate external shocks, thereby promoting long-term economic stability and growth. Niger has actively sought to strengthen relations with neighboring countries in the Sahel region to address shared security challenges and promote regional stability. Without U.S. interference, Niger could potentially deepen these cooperative efforts, focusing on mutual benefits and joint initiatives to combat cross-border threats such as terrorism, organized crime, and trafficking. Enhanced regional cooperation could lead to more effective border management, joint infrastructure projects, and shared resource utilization, thereby fostering a more integrated and resilient regional community. By asserting its independence from the U.S. military agreement, Niger could enhance its role and influence within the broader Sahel region. This could involve leading regional initiatives, shaping collective security strategies, and participating in decision-making processes that impact regional stability and development. As a proactive regional actor, Niger could leverage its strategic location and diplomatic relationships to drive regional agendas, mediate disputes, and promote cooperative frameworks that benefit all Sahel countries. This increased influence could elevate Niger's stature in regional and international forums, amplifying its voice on global issues that affect African nations. Niger has faced significant security challenges from terrorist groups operating within its borders and across the Sahel region. Without a U.S. presence, Niger could develop more tailored and effective counter-terrorism strategies that align closely with its security priorities and operational capabilities. This could involve enhancing intelligence sharing mechanisms with regional partners, improving military coordination, and implementing community-based approaches to prevent radicalization. By taking a more autonomous approach to counterterrorism, Niger could mitigate security threats more efficiently and sustainably, contributing to long-term peace and stability in the region. U.S. engagement with Niger has often included scrutiny of the country's human rights record, particularly concerning issues such as political freedoms and civil society activism. Without U.S. influence, Niger could address these concerns through its initiatives, fostering a more responsive and accountable governance framework. This could involve implementing reforms to strengthen democratic institutions, protect human rights, and promote civic participation without external pressures or conditionalities. By prioritizing human rights independently, Niger could enhance social cohesion, uphold democratic values, and build trust between the government and its citizens. Niger has been actively working to enhance its military capacity and capabilities to address internal security threats effectively. Without U.S. involvement, Niger could intensify efforts to build indigenous military expertise, modernize equipment, and improve logistical support systems. This could involve expanding training programs, investing in defense infrastructure, and adopting innovative technologies tailored to Niger's specific security challenges. By prioritizing capacity building autonomously, Niger could strengthen its defense forces, enhance operational readiness, and respond more effectively to emerging security dynamics within the Sahel region. Ending the military agreement with the U.S. would grant Niger greater autonomy in making decisions about its military and economic relationships. This increased autonomy could empower Niger to shape its destiny, navigate geopolitical complexities, and chart a course that reflects the aspirations of its people. So, Niger's future without the United States could be defined by enhanced sovereignty, greater economic autonomy, improved regional relations, and more effective governance. By pursuing a more independent path, Niger could capitalize on its strategic advantages, leverage its regional influence, and address security challenges in ways that align with its unique national interests and aspirations. The U.S. decision to leave Niger is the best decision for both the U.S. and Niger. For the United States, this withdrawal signifies a significant realignment of its global military strategy. By pulling back from Niger, the U.S. can strategically redistribute its military resources to focus on areas and threats that may pose more immediate or critical challenges. This could involve shifting attention to regions where U.S. interests are more directly engaged or where security priorities have evolved. Moreover, withdrawing from Niger could lead to substantial cost savings for the U.S. government. Maintaining military bases and operations abroad involves considerable financial commitments. By reducing its overseas military footprint, the U.S. can redirect these resources towards domestic priorities or other international commitments that align more closely with current strategic imperatives. For Niger, the withdrawal of U.S. forces represents a significant step towards asserting greater sovereignty and autonomy over its military affairs. With foreign troops no longer stationed within its borders, Niger gains more freedom to make independent decisions on security matters and national defense strategies. This enhances Niger's ability to tailor its military policies to address specific regional challenges and threats, including terrorism and instability in the Sahel. Furthermore, the absence of U.S. military presence could contribute to improved regional relations for Niger. It may foster closer cooperation with neighboring countries and regional organizations in tackling shared security concerns. This collaborative approach could strengthen regional stability and enhance Niger's diplomatic standing within the Sahel region and beyond. Do you think this was the right decision by America? Should it have taken this decision before? So, was this move taken on its own or was forced? Let us know in the comments section. What's your reaction to this news? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.